from a man's perspective. I'm your boy Charles, and I'm your host for this evening. We have our usual cast of characters minus one. We have Chuck,
Hey,
Mike,
I'm the pappy.
and Wayne.
Going on with you?
Yeah, and our boy Stefan couldn't be with us this evening out there running errands with wifey. So shout out to Steph. Tonight, we are going to chop it up with the Gordon brothers.
sir.
These brothers are doing big things representing the DMV, including a weekly show on Facebook Live entitled In Brotherly Love. So, guys, welcome to the Just Be a Man podcast.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Yeah,
Thanks for
having us.
Right. Now, before we get into our discussion for this evening, just tell the audience about yourselves, guys, and your Facebook Live show. So why don't we start from oldest to youngest? So we'll start with you, Jeff.
That's Jason, man. What you talking about? He's the oldest looking one. Stop playing.
Shut your old behind up.
All right, how y'all doing? How y'all doing everywhere? You know, it's a pleasure to be here on the Just Be a Man show, and we thank you guys for having us on board. My name is Jeff Gordon. I am one of the Gordon brothers from In Brotherly Love. I'm an HBCU grad. I'm a father. I'm a dad. I'm a brother to these two jokers that you're gonna hear about after me.
All right. Next up, Jay.
Jay Wendell Gordon. I'm a trial lawyer. I'm the warrior lawyer. Okay. HBCU grad, dad from Morgan State University, also from the DMV.
Yeah.
Y'all already know. So I'm here, happy to be here. Look, we're gonna bring a lot of energy to this show and wake sleepy Jason up because he just took his COVID shot.
Yeah, you probably sleep already.
Roll them around.
All right, Jason, you up?
What's going on, folks? My name is Jason
You fell
S.,
asleep.
the voice Gordon, the youngest of the bunch. I am an HBCU grad, a graduate of the best HBCU known to man, home of your MVP, Kamala Harris. I am a graduate of the Howard University. I am a husband.
It's
I
you.
am a father. I am an uncle. And I'm a brother to these two jokers that you see before you. Right now, I have a mask on because I am inside a place getting my second COVID shot. But I thank you all for having me on the Just Be a Man podcast. I'm honored to be here. Let's rock out.
All right.
All right.
Good to have you guys here. And for
Yeah.
those of you out there keeping count, that is 7 former HBCU attendees all in one podcast. So, shout out to all the HBCUs out there.
Yes, sir.
We're talking headlines tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Usually on the Just Be a Man podcast, we tend to be singularly focused on one topic, but tonight we're going to be jumping from topic to topic. We're going into several forms of discussion tonight. We're going to start out talking about the George Floyd murder trial. We're going to kick into gear. Secondly, going into the racism within the royal family. Talk a little bit about the COVID-19 situation, the recent insurrection at the Capitol. And if we have a little bit more time to spare, we may throw in another topic or two. So it's going to be a power-packed hour. So let's get started, guys.
All right.
First and foremost, on May 25th, 2020, we all saw it. We saw this cop, Derek Chauvin, basically kneel on the neck of George Floyd for 8 minutes and 46 seconds until he died. It resulted in his death. So now we have the jury selection underway, and the trial is due to begin real soon. So, guys, is it possible that this dirty cop, Derek Chauvin, is going to get away with murder? Let's talk about it.
Anything is possible. Is it probable? I think that should be the real question. I think that he will be found guilty for the crimes that he committed. I do. I'm not one of these people who feel like, nobody's going to convict him, because I believe that everybody, not only in that state or the country, but all over the world saw the same thing. And the defense attorneys have a very arduous task trying to get people to believe them as opposed to what they actually saw and have been seeing since you said May 25th. But we'll know soon. I mean, I think they picked up 5, and jury selection is supposed to run until March 29th. I believe opening statements begin no earlier than March 29th. So they're going to pack the jury. They're supposed to have 12 jurors and 2 alternates. I think they need more alternates in case some of the 12, for whatever reason, fall out. I don't think 2 is enough, but hey, I'm not there to make that suggestion to them. But yeah, whatever the case may be, you know, I never really criticized juries, even as a trial lawyer myself. If I win a case that I thought I should not have won, or if I lost the case I thought I should have won, I don't blame the juries. At the end of the day, it falls on the lawyers. If the lawyers, you know, at the end of the day, if you've done your very best, then you don't have anything to worry about. But the lawyers, it's their job to put forth the information so the jury can consider it.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things I heard today is that I think they had taken 3rd degree off the table, and now it's back on the table. So that was good news I heard today.
Right. It's a little easier to prove than the 2nd degree.
Okay.
3rd degree requires the mens rea, or the intent, is not the same. Whereas, you know, you got 1st degree, which is cold-blooded murder. 2nd degree is like hot-blooded murder. You know, you just kill somebody.
Yeah.
And then that 3rd degree involves a degree of recklessness. So you don't have to have, you know, all the requisite intent there. And it's just, you know, if jurors don't believe that he killed him in hot blood, then they can go, okay, well, he was reckless in his conduct, and that's what caused him to die. So they can pretty much secure a conviction on that in that way.
Makes sense.
And what made them take it off the table in the first place, Jay? You have evidence on it?
I think the judge didn't find that there was probable cause to support the charge in the very beginning, and that's why they appealed to their Supreme Court, and their Supreme Court said, nah, you need to go back down there and take another look at that. There's plenty of evidence there. And then the judge say, okay, well, it is okay. Y'all got the 3rd degree. Let's get this thing going. You know what I mean? It's pretty embarrassing. I mean, that's really, that has to be pretty embarrassing for a judge to, you know, not allow this charge to proceed. And then they have to appeal. And then you got another court telling you, look, you're screwing this thing up. Get this right. And let's get this thing on the road. But from what I hear about this judge, he's pretty fair. He's pretty impartial. His rulings on some of the trial issues have been fairly decent thus far. And so I'm looking forward to it. As a trial attorney, I really want to see how this thing is going to turn out.
I can imagine.
Okay.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. What does everybody else think? Chime in, guys.
I think this is a big deal. Sorry, this is Wayne. I think it's a big deal because, you know, there's been a bunch of this stuff going on for a long time, right? But George Floyd seems to be like the straw that broke the camel's back kind of a thing. And everyone's kind of like almost using that as the starting point. So I think I agree with Jay Wendell. I think he's going to go, I don't know what the sentence is going to be, but I think he's going to be guilty. I think he's going to be guilty.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Because I just think that how could you not come back with that? How could you not come back like that? Because they're going to go crazy if they don't. Right.
Hey,
So it might be weak charge. It might be a weak sentence, but I think he's going to be guilty.
Well, here's what I told my wife. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They're not using the same, you know, standards again. I thought they were using those, you know, what is that? What is that they call it, Jay? The
unreasonable doubt. What do you mean?
No, where police has a whole separate set of qualified immunity. They're not using the same standards against him. So, I mean, will it still fly? Will 3rd degree still fly with qualified immunity?
Qualified immunity really is a doctrine that really applies to civil cases, not as much to criminal cases, but they will give police certain latitude or certain privileges, such as they will inform the jury in a jury instruction that police are called upon situations that are tense and evolving, and so they have to make split-second decisions, and they're not to be judged based upon 2020, you know, Monday morning quarterback. They're supposed to be judged on what they knew at the time and their actions at that moment in time. But even if you apply that standard, they're still not going to make out very well.
I'm hearing, my thing is, I have an issue with is I'm hearing different things and snippets about his health. Like they're trying to utilize his health background. in regards to saying that that had something to do with his demise in regards to being on the ground for a period of time. Have you guys heard anything about that?
Well, they wanted to talk about his drug use, and they wanted to bring that up as a matter of character evidence. That was one of the earlier rulings of the judge that, you know, like, you're gonna tread lightly, because if you open that door, if you bring up good character, if you bring up bad character, then they can bring up good character, and vice versa. If the state brings up good character, then the defense can bring up bad character. And the judge wanted it to be very clear that this case really isn't going to be about character. It's going to be
Right.
about the facts and the evidence. So that was one of his, you know, most renowned rulings that we heard thus far.
I would imagine training as well. I don't know of any police department in the country where you can kneel on someone's neck with your hands in your pockets. Because I mean, I'm a retired cop here, so I know I wasn't trained that way.
Right.
So that's going to be a hard hurdle for me, at least, for them to get past.
Yeah, but we've been down this road many times, guys. I mean,
Yes,
we
sir.
all know of several cases where, you know, police officers participate in this activity and they get away with it. You know, going back to Rodney King and, you know, well before that. I mean, obviously, everyone on this podcast remembers those things, maybe except for Jason, his little young ass. But you know, we
I
all
ain't that
remember, you know, what took place, and we all remember the aftermath of it,
Yeah.
right? Because, you know, we saw it. It was plain as day. Everyone had a reaction to it, and we almost took it for granted that there was going to be, you know, a conviction and major time given to these police officers, and then lo and behold, you know,
Yeah.
they go home.
Mm.
I think that we've taken a page from that, and I think that that's in the back of a lot of our minds. But this one, the whole world is watching. So,
Yeah.
but you do make an excellent point, because police kill about 1,000 to 1,400, 1,500 people every year, and out of that 1,000 to 1,500 people, only 80 police officers have been actually brought up on charges, and out of that 80, only 28. I'm talking about killings, police-involved killings. Only 28 have been convicted. So the numbers really reflect the sentiment that you all kind of have. This, I'm not going to call it doubt, but at least this cautiousness about how this case is going to result. But I think at the same time that you know, looking at the case, looking at the evidence, people are not going to let you pull the wool over their eyes. At least I don't think. You know, they're not going to let you pull wool over their eyes. They're going to make a decision based on how they feel about the situation. Hennepin County is 74% white, 14% African American. So the jury is going to probably be mostly white people. They've loaded up. I think they have one person of color. We still don't know what that race is. That could be anything from Asian to Indian. They have one African American male, and I think they have the remaining white males. And that was a report from yesterday. I don't know whether or not they've made any advances today, but they were bringing in about 2 to 3 jurors a day. So if they keep that up, they'll definitely have their 12 to 14 by March 29th.
Okay. So let's, you know, before we transition to the next topic, since we do, you know, have a legal expert on our panel tonight, can you just walk us through that whole process, Jay, in terms of what to expect next? You know, what happens with jury selection, and where does it go from there?
Jury selection is wild. Let me tell you, you get more Black people trying to figure out how they cannot be on a jury. And I expect that's probably happening in Hennepin County. And you hear all these stories, you know.
Hey, y'all, I'm about to go under.
Hey,
hear
do
all
your
these-
thing, brother. Got a
All right.
COVID-19 shot taking
All right.
place live on Facebook.
That's it. With our on-the-spot correspondent.
Yeah. That's what's
That's
up.
right. Dispel the myth.
That's what's up.
Dispel the myth, Jay. Dispel the myth, man.
He put us on mute so we don't hear him wincing like a wounded goat.
Yeah, he gonna have to turn his head so he don't look at it.
Just don't pass out, brother. Don't pass out.
Right.
I don't have to turn my head. I'm looking at it on my phone. Hater.
All right.
That's right. They got some oranges on the shelf over there. They give you an orange, man. You get weak.
So no, jury selection though, it's a very interesting part, because you really get a chance, at least the way they do it out there, you get a chance to talk to the jurors and ask them questions, have conversations with them. So you kind of figure out who they are, how they feel about certain things, Black Lives Matter, the police, the protests, George Floyd and everything. And I'd be, there's going to be no one on that jury who either has not seen that video or has not heard about the video.
Yeah.
So if someone was to come on the jury and say, I didn't watch it, I didn't see the video, I didn't hear about it, I wouldn't even select those people because I don't believe they're being honest and truthful. And that's not the type of person I want on my jury.
Right.
What I want on the jury is somebody, I want somebody who is fair-minded, who's seen the video, but is still open-minded to, the possibility. If the evidence takes you someplace else, then you got to go someplace else. If the evidence keeps you there, and you haven't been convinced that, that this person is not guilty beyond reasonable doubt, then you're going to convict. That's all you want.
Mhm.
He's about to get damned. Oh,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Look at that boy, he tearing up, man. He's
He's
blinking all
trying his
fast.
best. He is trying his best.
Hey,
trying to hold it
hey,
together.
he's setting a good example for all of us. So,
Yeah.
you know
Hey,
what?
man.
I think that's a perfect segue to our next topic, and we were gonna go into the royal family next, but let's talk a little bit about COVID-19, guys. Let's talk
Thank
about
you.
that since we did have the live shot
Yes.
of the vaccine taking place,
No doubt.
courtesy of Jason.
Great job,
Today
Jason.
marks the 1-year anniversary since the World Health Organization declared coronavirus as a pandemic. So worldwide, we've had 118 million people infected, 2.6 million have died. In the US, we've had 29 million infected and about 529,000 deaths. So I think the US population, if I'm not mistaken, I think roughly 10% of the population has received the vaccine so far. That leaves 90%, of course, that have not been vaccinated up to this point. But in the meantime, everything's opening back up. Okay, we got, governors basically saying, to hell with the mask mandate. They're opening up, restaurants to full scale, things of that nature. So, guys, what are your thoughts on all this?
I think Florida, Texas, and Mississippi are some dirty ass states. That's what I think.
Sir.
I think they need to get back on this mask program because what they're doing is that they're going to infect the entire country. Everybody tries to shoot down to Florida this time of year. I don't know who goes to Mississippi, but Texas is okay. You know what I mean? But if you're in those states, I mean, they're and my friends are telling me they're walking around maskless down there. They're having parties, like you said, Charles. They're down there as if we're not in a pandemic still. And if you're flying down there, you better double mask and protect yourself. Because
Part of the problem is we allowed them to politicize something. We allowed them to politicize a national health crisis.
Mhm.
And once it became a political rallying cry, that's literally where this thing got out of hand. What should have happened is we should have, if we had had leadership that was more concerned about public health than scoring political points, we wouldn't be in this dilemma that we're in right now. I mean, even though they used it to try to score political points, the way H1N1 was handled and the way Ebola virus was handled, it didn't evolve into this because of the fact that decisive action was taken. And then they gave you a handbook to figure this thing out. And then you were just so looking to not follow in the footsteps of your predecessor and to make this thing a political rallying cry that 500,000 people died as a result of you trying to score political points. So that's a problem.
But as a side note, Jason, he did score the political points, and it was horrible because he actually appealed to his base, which is those folks who want to believe that there's a conspiracy theory. They want to believe that, that initially they were saying it was a hoax, that it didn't exist, and then people were actually dying, and they still didn't believe that it existed. So they were going on and going on and on. So as far as trying to score the political points, he actually did score the political points, which kind of led him to his next endeavor, which brings us to the next big thing that's happening in the world. So, I mean, as a people, we have to know ourselves, just stay vigilant, wear your mask. It doesn't matter what they say. If you stop and think about it, and somebody pointed this out to me today, how many people talked about catching a cold since we've been wearing our masks? Right. How many people are talking about going to buy cold medicine. Like I when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? Not a single person has talked about catching a cold.
Yep.
Because
That's
we've been
facts.
wearing our masks. So stay vigilant. Is there something
Even
to be
the
said
flu,
about that?
even the
Good
flu
point.
has
Same
been
thing
low
with
key.
flu, right?
I
Right.
want
Same
you.
thing.
I want Jeff to stay vigilant with that whack ass system he got over there, man. You know, jeez.
Hey man, I'm on the field cam. I'm on the field cam.
I
Leave me
could barely
alone.
understand. I know you was making some good points, but all I could hear was garble. You know what I mean?
Oh, you need me to say?
I
You
know
need me
you
to say
said
it
something
again?
good though.
You need me to say it
Oh,
again?
No,
Can you hear me
I
now?
know y'all not talking because y'all are team iPhone over there. Y'all believe in the iPhone.
Oh,
Hey,
oh,
but
Lord.
let me throw this out, fellas. We're talking COVID-19. We're talking about Trump's base and how they politicize this thing. But Black folks have been catching hell, with this COVID-19 thing. But on
Yep.
top of that, we just had All-Star Weekend down in Atlanta, and there were parties. I mean, non-stop down there. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's not just the other persuasion, so to speak, who are participating in these super spreader events. It's us as well. So I mean, what do you have to say about that?
I have to say that even though you're vaccinated, if you have been vaccinated, you still can be a spreader.
Right.
You can carry it. It just doesn't affect you the same way. So, folks down there, we're being extremely reckless with our lives, with the lives of our loved ones. It's like we're regressing back to the time when we didn't know as much as we know today. So when you know better, you're supposed to do better. Everybody's so quick to get back to the liquor, to the drink,
Right.
consumerism, and all this other stuff, man. It puts us at risk, but I'm just prayerful, staying prayed up that no one in our family gets it, and if they do have it or they do get it, they recover from it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy thing, right? It's, everyone knows someone either close or not too far removed that's been impacted by this. And so you got these states out there that are saying, forget what you don't got to wear a mask and open everything out to 100%. It's kind of crazy. I think I heard yesterday on the on television was a guy that genius guy Neil deGrasse Tyson. He made an interesting comment. They asked him what he thought about just these various states having these different rules from the rest of the country, and he said it was kind of equivalent to having a peeing section in a pool.
Damn.
Which I was like,
Hey,
I mean, that says it all, right?
Yeah,
It's
that
gonna
does
get
actually, yeah.
that says it all. So yeah, is that people just want to do what they want to do without the repercussions. And like you said, your loved ones, Jay Wendell, you said your loved ones, how would you feel if you brought that to your grandmother?
Exactly.
That's crazy. Or your auntie or your uncle, whatever. That'd be a crazy thing to be responsible for.
But it's a mentality now. I watched something the other day where they've got it was a whole group of folks standing around with their kids burning masks,
Burn
and
it.
so yeah, they're burning masks. It was Nebraska or Idaho, somewhere like that, But bottom line is, it's a culture. How do you get? I don't even know, man. I don't know how to get. I have friends who have this mentality about the mask. It's infringing on my rights and this thing. I just it's hard for me to. That's not. They call themselves patriots.
Yes.
I don't understand why they think that's patriotism. When you're not supporting the home team. I think that's the best way I can say it. If we're all supposed to be in this together, when we send our teams off to compete internationally, we root for the home team. You know what I mean? We're all in this together, but they're not doing that here, and it's awful, man. To watch that video, to see them
Jason,
indoctrinate their kids like that, man, it's actually horrible.
It is, but I think Jason said it best from the beginning. This thing has been politicized. So what happens when you politicize anything is that people choose a side,
Yeah.
and they get fully entrenched in it. So it's like once you've made that choice, you've made that choice. Now I'm all in as far as being anti-mask. It's a government conspiracy, things of that nature. So
Right.
once you announce that, to the world that that's your position, then hey, that's where you are. That's where you line up. Now, but my concern is, this vaccine is now available. We just bore witness to our brother Jason getting his shot,
Right.
but
Second
Black
shot.
people are lagging behind as far as getting vaccinated. And I'm just trying to figure out, what is it? Is it our mentality? Is it
It's
fear?
history.
I mean, what's going on?
Hell yeah, we
Is
don't
it being
trust
offered
it.
to us?
We don't
It's
trust
history.
it.
And
We
not
don't trust it.
understanding, it's history of not understanding the science and in being science experiments in the past.
There you go.
A lot of times when you hear Black people talking, they refer to the Tuskegee experiment. And that was, that's one of those times when it was considered one of the dark eras of our, the history of the country. And then when you look at a gentleman who is considered the father of being an OBGYN, and he basically practiced on Black women and was not giving them anesthesia.
Yeah.
So Black people have an ingrained negative attitude towards medicine just based off of history.
Mhm.
Now, in knowing that, to refute that, you also have to understand science. So with this particular vaccine, a lot of people's complaint now is that it happened so fast. One thing that you have to understand is that studying of the coronavirus dates back at least 9 years. So this is actually what you're seeing in the development of the vaccine was just a matter of just putting together information that had been developed over years of study. Coronavirus isn't new. This strain that crossed over into humans is new. What they had to do was they had to quickly identify what it was that would they had to quickly identify what it was that would produce a safe vaccine. So in understanding the science, there really is nothing to worry about, but I do understand people's reservations about taking the vaccine just based on history.
Yeah.
But that
The message that we need to get out is that, quite frankly, the vaccine saves lives.
that's it.
Certainly you can do your diet thing if you know what to eat and what to drink. Yeah, that's great and that's wonderful. But I think that with the efficacy. Yeah,
All right, that's a $10 word. All right, go ahead, bro.
look, I think it's proven, you know what I mean? So I just feel like, we as African Americans, we gotta get over that. I know some of our most renowned leaders have told us that we shouldn't take this vaccine, but you'd rather be caught with it than caught without it. I think especially in this day and age.
I mean, I was glad when our parents said they got both of their shots. Like both of our parents have their shots, and they're in the vulnerable population. So, I was excited. But Dad is a former government worker with a science background, so you knew that as soon as Dad jumped on board, because Dad was the first one to jump off board when COVID hadn't ravaged the country. My dad was like, "Nah, I ain't going nowhere."
And Dad shut down the house and put steel on the windows.
Yeah, he wasn't playing.
He wasn't going in. He wasn't going out, and wasn't nothing coming in. Not even his kids.
Literally,
House, man, you feel like a suspect, man. You walk up to it, you take 10 paces towards the other paces back from you. You just like y'all doing a dance or a tango or something. You can't even get close to it.
It was like two opposite. It was like two of the same ends of a bag.
Of a magnet,
You back right up.
Wow.
Dad was
I
not
agree to that point. I agree to that point, fellas. I mean, you said rather have it, not need it, not have it. I got my shot yesterday. I had no problem, no qualms about it. Being in there, getting my shot. Being the point that I was educational personnel, but I think a lot of the history, I mean, people should learn from history instead of being afraid to get it. They should learn from the history, read your history about that stuff and go ahead and get it. Because you're not only making yourself safe, but you're making your family safe and the people around you. So that's my thing.
So
And
amongst the seven of us, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
But in all fairness, I was actually one of the ones like, I'm not getting it. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm not leaving the house. I really didn't want it. So I was definitely one of the ones, but I saw a couple things online and they talked about the technology that was used in creating this vaccine. Because I was also one of the ones like, they can't create nothing else this fast, but they created this vaccine in a year.
Right.
And it was like, who's going to be the test case? Where was the studies done? So I had to get some. You had to get some knowledge and education on what went into creating this vaccine, and I went and got it. Even a month, even still kind of nervous going to get it because I was like, well, what if I have an adverse reaction to it? What if this happens? What if that happens?
You was being
getting up
on
there
what?
in age. So, but in the end, I was like, hey, it probably is best to go get it. I mean, at a minimum, if I do catch COVID, I won't necessarily have to worry about trying to die from it. It'd be just a flu at that point.
Well, I ain't gonna lie. I had always planned to get it, but I said I'll let a few jokers get it first.
Right. And we did too.
Yeah.
Yeah, how about you, Wayne? Yeah, you've been quiet, bro. You getting a shot? What you doing?
You know what? That's funny. Like, so I really wasn't interested in it. Like Jeff said, I wasn't interested at all. I was like, yo, if everybody gets a shot, I guess I don't need it. But now, there's more studies out. There's a 6 months of people getting it, and there's a better track record. Yeah, I'm gonna get it. I'm not sure how quickly, but I'm gonna get it.
Okay. All right. Well, good stuff. Sounds like we're pretty much all on board. I'm actually scheduled to get my shot tomorrow. So I'll definitely let you guys know how it goes. But let's make the transition, guys, over to the Royal.
Be careful.
I'm sorry?
I said, you bruise easy, so be careful.
Hey, I hear it does special things to your lips, Chuck.
Oh,
so
here we go.
be careful, make sure you lube up, because might get extra crusty and white, so just be careful with that.
Hey, we got company, so I'm gonna keep it nice.
All right. Anyway, let's transition over to the Royal family, guys.
I'm free.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Jason.
Yes, indeed.
But guys, the media has been all over this Oprah interview with Harry and Meghan, which exposed racism within the royal family. I just want to ask the question: are we surprised?
Hell no.
Do we care? And should we care?
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to go first, look, I look at it like this. If you look at the whole monarchy, that's a whole system of us over them, right? It's all about bloodline. It's all about the rich, the poor. They prejudice against everybody. That ain't them. So that's one thing. The other thing is when they was first getting together and doing all this royal stuff, nobody wasn't looking for our approval, but now we supposed to cry? I don't know. I'm just saying I don't care. I mean, it's a bad situation. It's not good for anybody to be sad, but nobody was caring when they was happy. Nobody was reaching out when they was happy, but that's my take on it. But that the royals have racial thoughts, absolutely. You'd be crazy to think differently.
Right.
I'm not surprised at any of the racial talk. I'm always glad to see racism being exposed and put on display, no matter where it is. I think it needs to be out there. I believe a light needs to be shown on it. With that said, it being Britain, I don't foresee too much of it. This will be on the news for the next couple of weeks, and then it's going to disappear, and it's going to the racism is going to continue to be as richly entrenched in that monarchy that it is, and it just is what it is. But I'm. The takeaway from that story is also about her mental health and all that, and how they overlook that. I believe they've got reporters over there that are being dismissed, like Piers Morgan, for what he said about her mental health, and what he's from what I'm saying, she's filed the charges against Piers Morgan for the media's treatment of her over there. But just getting back on the racism portion of it, I'm always a fan of racism being exposed and racist being exposed. It's if it wasn't with them, it would have been someone else. But now watching today, of course, because it's the royal family, now you've got other stories that are coming out and other people who have openly and blatantly displayed racism in Britain for years. So it's nothing new over there. Obviously, it's nothing new in the United States, but I'm glad it's being a light's being shown on it.
That was good. I feel the same way. In fact, I found a little hilarity in it because the England family, I don't even want to call them royals because nothing about them is royal to me, especially after that big expose. But that family from England, they need to come off the shelf anyway. They're nothing to be admired, and
Agreed.
they're nothing to be revered. I mean, I understand that you can track your bloodline all the way back to the maybe 1412s, maybe 1000, and that's special. There's no question about that. But I don't think you're any better than anybody else just because you wear a nice top hat or you know, people get old and get rings around their eyes. Like, who are they? And when it's all said and done, yeah, you got some money, but take your money away. Who are you? If I saw you walking down the street, I wouldn't even know who you were. But now what I do know about you is you're a bunch of racist racist pigs over there. So
Right.
that's what I think about the England family. They're a bunch of racist pigs.
Yeah. I mean, I concur, man. My thing is, I don't even understand why the royal family is the royal family. You know, they have no power. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what is relevant about them? Why are we even discussing them on this podcast? To be honest with you, but because I've been every time there's a wedding,
Like
every
real talk,
time
it ain't
any
even
type that
about
there's an
them.
issue. Yeah, true.
It's about the sister.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's about the sister. It ain't really about them. I could care less about them, but I do care about the fact that they were mistreating that sister.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I mean, I that's where I got from. Even you even bringing it up on the show. Like when you all wanted to discuss it, I was like, oh, we want to talk about the sister because, like, literally, I'm glad that as a Black woman that she even talked about her mental health because oftentimes in the Black community, talking about mental health is a stigma that we try to avoid.
Oh yeah.
And as Black people, we suffered too long in silence. Like it's good to get that information out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
totally
we all
agree
saw
with you.
I'm cool
Bridgerton,
with
so
it.
I'm not surprised. We all saw Bridgerton. We saw what they were going through. We saw how they were having at it. We saw what was that other movie, Crown, or something like that on Netflix, something like that. She talked about the royal family. We saw all of that. So they were having problems with people just not even being of the same status being within the family. So of course they would have a problem with the African American blood running through the royal family.
Facts.
And I've come to understand they don't even have any political power. They can't make any decisions. It's just a family that sits out there. The parliament still makes all the decisions. So I don't know what the purpose of this whole situation is. Like Jay Wendell says, that whole thing needs to go away because it really all it does is confuse things.
It's ceremonial. Yeah.
Yep.
That's all it is.
Exactly
It's a ceremonial thing. Like, yes, we've heard from the queen. Why? Like, she's a 90-something-year-old woman.
Right.
And though there's nothing wrong with older people being able to make decisions,
in terms of that family,
Meghan. Yeah, let me correct that.
Meghan Markle is going to go down as one of the most popular, whether England likes it or not.
No doubt.
So that's the problem that they had with Princess Di.
She's going to be one of the most popular in the history of that family. When you start naming people who are in that family, people are going to be able to name Meghan Markle, and they're going to be able, and they still are able to name Diana.
And that was a problem with Diana, is that she was, like they say, she did her job too well. She became more popular than the royal family. And then you got Meghan Markle, and then you got Oprah Winfrey, both saying, hey, they brought some light to this situation that pretty much brought down the royal family. Like, people are not looking at the royal family as being royal anymore. They're like, yo, this some trash.
Oh yeah.
No, the press today was horrible.
You know what I think is that coming from working in a psychiatric background, I think when she spoke about her mental health and how they ignored it, that hit people seriously, because there's a lot of people in this world with mental health issues, and they've gone ignored for, depending on who you are, your issues go ignored. You only get worse over time. And for them to blatantly tell her there was nothing they could do and she was reaching out for help, I think people really felt that.
Well, when somebody says, I wanted to kill myself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Child.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that's just, it's not only a powerful statement, but it's a powerful image. And that image coming from such a high position, if you will, to be ignored. So, yeah. And then, of course, she's a person of color. So
Right.
I don't think anybody was surprised about it because for her, for being such an intelligent young lady, I know she knew the history. Because if you go back to history with the royal family, they were all up in the slave trade like everybody else. No surprise.
Man, look, as
But-
soon as they announced that, was it Prince Harry was engaged?
Yeah.
And, everybody's going, whatever. And then they said, oh, well, she's a black. I said, oh, shit.
Yeah, we all do.
I said, oh,
You know
shit.
what's coming,
we were
right?
waiting for it. We were waiting
Come
for it.
on. So I wasn't surprised, man.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. All right,
Hey,
guys.
what
Well,
about them worried about? They were worried about how dark. Was that true? They were worried about how dark the baby was gonna be.
That's
I
what they
was-
said in the interview.
I mean, she
I wouldn't
light
be
skinned and he light skinned. Well, how dark could it be?
Well, have you seen obviously they didn't know beforehand, but looking at the baby, I mean, you couldn't tell. But
Yeah, that
yeah,
baby
they
should
said
have
that's what they
been
said.
black, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
yeah,
That would have been a beautiful baby then.
Yep.
Yeah,
Some color to it.
that's
Yep.
it.
no doubt. Well, guys, let's transition here. I think we chopped it up pretty good with that one. Let's talk about insurrection. This happened obviously a few weeks ago. We had the situation where white folks running amok in D.C. We have a new administration, including a black woman, HBCU grad in the White House. And so what we want to talk about is re-engagement with white America post-Trump and post-insurrection. Now, what does that look like to you? What does that look like to black people in general?
Voting.
We voted.
Mhm.
And now white America really should be figuring out how to re-engage with us.
You got to stick your foot in their ass and mash the gas. I'm telling you, you got that. You just voted that election, and that's beautiful. And I'm
We got
glad.
another one coming up in 2022.
Yep, you got another one. You got to vote each and every time. Vote. Go
Keep
in
that same energy.
that same energy. You got to keep it up because that's what we do. We do it once, right, and then we'll fall asleep, and then we'll all hell will break loose, and then we'll do it again. But we losing a lot of good soldiers in the meantime.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure and stay engaged. When the General Assembly is in Annapolis and they're passing laws, you need to be a part of that. You need to call them up if you have some interest in a law that you want your representative to support. And I'm not just talking about in Congress. I'm not just talking about in Annapolis. I'm even talking about countywide. If you live in a municipality, because all politics is local. And you just can't just go home and go to work and think that that's all you have to do. And whether you got your $1 million house or your $350,000 house, it's more to your civic responsibility than just being able to make a living for yourself and your family. You have to support your entire community. You have to be involved.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
no doubt.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Other thoughts, guys?
Yeah,
Wendell pretty much said it all. That was pretty much it.
I think this year has been a big year for me because a lot of the information that's come out that I wasn't able to attain or in school and in college and these things that come out have enlightened me to the point where almost it disrupt me emotionally because I mean I've seen some things, I've heard some things, I've read some things, and then to see this insurrection go on and how they were able to get in and do all these different things and defecate and destroy people's offices and do all this, that it wouldn't have went that way. It wouldn't have went that way if it was a different set of people. That. If it was us, it would have been a whole different ball game. And that was infuriating for me, knowing that even on TV, people are testing the waters and get away with this stuff.
Yeah,
I'll tell you,
I'm still offended by it. I'm still angry about what happened at the Capitol.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I agree.
agree.
It hit home for me because I served with a lot of those officers. I went to the academy with some of those officers, and I can't say for certain that any of the crew that I was with was part of that, but I know that those officers. I'm gonna say it. The officers had a hand in what happened. Obviously, it's coming out, but officers had a hand in what's going on. So, as a former officer, thinking about having to serve side by side with traitors,
Mm-hmm.
all right, because that's what they are, domestic terrorists. That's what they are in uniform. It's a little too much for me because as a police officer, you put that uniform on I'll say the officers that are there for the right reasons. You put that uniform on, people say to serve and protect, and that is part of it. But, for people like me, I put the uniform on because, I wanted to make a difference. I really believe that shit. Excuse the expression, but you got people. I served with these people, man. This shit really it really affected me, man, because I know some of those guys, and people got hurt. People lost digits. They lost their fingers, and they were willing to allow these people to try to overthrow our government for what? For a dude that didn't win.
Right. You clearly lost.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah, I think what's crazy to me about the whole situation is if we go back to the vote, right? The vote after 4 years of that administration still got that many votes. What does that tell you about our country, right? That tells you who's really next to us. You look to your left, look to your right, that kind of thing. That's where their head is at, right? And so when you saw them run up on the Capitol, they thought they had every right to do that.
Right.
And these are people who we sit next to, these are people we work with, shop with, whatever. I mean, what that told us or told me is this is who we live in. This is what they think. This is what they believe. And this dude, without saying his name, but this dude, he could still be a problem in a couple years.
Oh, no doubt.
Right? He getting money. These people are giving him money. This dude is crazy. It's crazy. And so, but he can only exist in an environment that allows him to exist. He should be right now. He should be completely irrelevant, but he's not.
Right.
That's the scary part. That's the scary part.
And they're still mentioning him in this, and she's still being mentioned in the same sentence with the president, the current president. So that makes him be way more relevant.
They call that a sleeper cell. He just waiting for the right time again.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, and I always told people with those votes that he had, like, you got to cut the head off that serpent. He needs to go to jail, put him in isolation. I'm not talking about executing no president. So let me get the record straight. I'm not talking about execution, but I do believe that for his conduct, or for whatever happened with whatever's going to happen with the investigation in Georgia, or the investigations in New York, somebody needs to take that pound of flesh from him. And once they get him, he needs to be fully incarcerated because he has influence over people. He can disrupt the jail. He needs to be in isolation. He needs to be locked down 23-1.
He said 23-1. Okay.
Yeah. 23 hours locked down, 1 hour recreation.
Right.
Yep. But I think you guys said it best at the beginning, man. We gotta stay motivated, gotta keep that energy up, gotta vote, man. That's the only way to prevent this nonsense from occurring, 4 years from now, hopefully.
Right.
Well, no, we got the mid.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Midterms. Yep.
Can't think about the next 4 years.
Yes,
we need
sir.
to think about midterm. Actually, there's some elections coming up next year.
Yep.
Or this year.
No.
Yeah, you see that there's some people out there right now that are just taking on what he used to do and just wilding out like he did. And they're getting love. They're getting love. I mean, they're getting the press and all these people who no one even knew who they were. And he's backing them. And these crazy people. Yes, but that means that there is an environment, there is an audience for that. That's the real problem.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Got to stay motivated, guys. But before we close this thing out, I thought we would end on a positive note. We got a HBCU Love Fest taking place right now in our nation. We have huge donations being made to HBCUs. We have 5-star athletes committing to HBCU sports programs. We have the NBA All-Star game that we just had over the past weekend that was heavily focused on HBCUs, particularly in the Atlanta area. We have, of course, Deion Sanders at Jackson State. We have a HBCU grad in the White House. So at the end of the day, I just want to know, what does it all mean for HBCUs to be getting all these love, guys?
It's long overdue. But you have to understand that we've been out here doing all these things. We've been in the White House before. We haven't held office as vice president, sure. We've been in the White House. We've been everywhere. There's no place where our graduates have not been. When it comes to integrating professionals,
professions, when it comes to integrating society, neighborhoods, country clubs. HBCU graduates have always been at the forefront of progress and change, and white men have always been the one human that tries to get in the way of progress and change.
Very well said. Any other thoughts, guys? HBCU love?
Well,
I'm sorry. It's validation for me. I mean, I've always known. I think we've always known. We know us. And like you said, we're everywhere. We're everywhere. It's So yeah, it's just validation for me. I know we're the shit.
I mean, I think when we look at the history of HBCUs, and this is kind of really just going off of what Jay Wendell was saying. I mean, some of these white sports programs, they only came to be because they took players from HBCUs to get their programs started. And the HBCUs just didn't have the funding to compete against that. So I think this is great now that the HBCUs are starting to get these big donations. They're starting to get funding. And yes, it's not all going into sports right now, and it's going into more the academics. I think it's great because that allows these schools to be able to compete with some of these PWIs. And when you start looking at a Howard or a Hampton or a Morgan State or A&T or Morehouse, you don't have to look at them saying, well, I'm just going to get a mediocre education. I think that's what gets lost in this, that they think you go into an HBCU, you get a mediocre education, but that's absolutely not the case. And the relationships and the preparation that you have for life afterwards is almost as great as the education itself. And I think that's what gets missed on. That's what gets missed on this a lot of times, is the real the importance of the HBCU, and they kind of got pushed to the side. So I think it's awesome that now they're being brought to the forefront. I think it's great that seeing Madam Vice President come from an HBCU, even though it was Howard. But
Hey, what my next question was going to be? What's the real HU?
Hampton University.
Oh, come on now.
Everybody knows the real HU is Hillman College, right?
So listen, as a Morgan grad, it's a great thing.
That's true.
The great thing to see, the opportunities that are out there. Athletics is a big thing, right? And so when you have some of your, we have a perfect example. When we were at Morgan, our first semester, we were there with Dave Meggett. Dave Meggett was on Morgan's football team. And after that first year, he left and went to Towson State because he ended up in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So it was about opportunity, and that was why it wasn't good. That's why people shied away from the Black universities, because then they weren't going to get that. They weren't going to get that TV time. They weren't going to get that recognition and that possible contract. So now, if you're getting top college prospects into your program, hey, remember, they was following LeBron in high school. So where the talent goes, the media will follow.
No
it's
doubt.
That simple.
No
right.
doubt.
That's an excellent point.
That's a good point.
I bet Jason could speak to that point a little better than anybody.
Jason's asleep right now. Took that shot.
Yeah, but I think this panel tonight again is another case in point. I'm talking about some highly successful brothers here. The 7 brothers all doing their thing, all highly successful in their own right, all former HBCU attendees, and that's something that it makes me incredibly proud. So continued success, guys. I want to thank the Gordon brothers for joining the Just Be a Man podcast.
Them Gordon boys.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So if you can remind the audience on where we can go to check you guys out, that would be great.
I'm gonna let Jay take that one.
So Wednesday nights, ladies and gentlemen, Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock, streaming right from Jay Wendell Gordon's Facebook page, Jeff Gordon's Facebook page, Jason Gordon's Facebook page, and the In Brotherly Love Facebook page. And you can find us, Google us. If you can't remember my name, Jay Wendell, just Google the Warrior Lawyer, Jeff Gordon. That's pretty easy. That's like the race car driver. And Jason the Voice Gordon. That's easy too. Just look up Jason DeVoice. Everybody's Googleable, but you got to check us out Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, every Wednesday night. And these guys been hitting on me because I
I encourage them.
Master.
I urge them to remain consistent with our show, and they haven't let me down so far, but who knows what's going to happen. They've been trying to inch away from me. It's like herding cats with these jokes.
Well, keep up the great work, guys. I've checked you guys out a couple of times, and you're doing big things, like I said before. So continued success.
Real quick.
Chuck.
Yeah, real quick before we wrap, I just want to remind everybody to like and subscribe our YouTube page. You can find us everywhere. We are on all of your social media platforms. If you just simply say, Alexa, turn on the Just Be a Man podcast, we'll come right on up. All right. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate that, sir. Special shout out to our folks in Haiti, the Dominican Republic, also China. I mean, believe it or not, they're showing us quite a bit of love over there. So we want to just say thank you to our audience for tuning in.
Yes,
so
indeed.
in the meantime, we wish you peace and blessings from Just Be a Man.
Deuces.
Everybody have a great